He was always getting involved in kids' programs. I have drawers full of kids' artwork that classrooms used to send him. Look at our paintings. He loved that. He just thought it was the most authentic expression of art from a young kid. The way they danced, the way they sang, because you're your most authentic when you're young, and then you start to filter based on what your people's feedback is, right? So he would say, don't send the kids to art school because then they'll be taught to paint a house with 2 windows and a door and grass and a picket fence. Instead, they might paint a house with 1 giant window, no doors, no roof, whatever they want. They get less creative because they're told by the school that they can't do it. In creativity, there is no right or wrong. It's helping each person find the way they express themselves, right? So, you have a teacher who encourages you and knows it's like a tree, right? You can't tell a tree how to grow. You can only trim a branch here and there and guide it. And that's how I think kids are with creativity. You've got to guide them where you see their strengths are and find, where they really shine. And they're on that path by themselves, and then they get to school and there's a teacher. And so often you'll meet somebody who says, it was that one teacher who changed my life, or is that one person, or somebody's comment, somebody's encouraging comment. And I think that's really what I've found with the foundation, with these students that we've given the scholarships to. When they come back, and we talk to them now 2-3 years later. I mean, we've been doing the scholarship program, we're going into our 6th year, but 5 years later, some of the kids who come back and say, that changed my life. So I never started at saying I'm going to change somebody's life, but you think you're going to put them on a path that they might not have otherwise been able to go on. Or, maybe their parent says, I'm not going to spend $3,000 to send you to that summer program. And they say, but I really want to do it. So if somebody gives them $2,000 or $2,500 of that, and they've only got to cover the $500, then the parent's more likely to say, okay. A lot of people I meet today, older people my age, people older, say, I wanted to play piano, I wanted to dance, but my parents made me do something that was going to, help me in a career. Well, how do you know that dance wouldn't have helped them in their career? How do you know that art class? Because I think art helps everybody find their center, find who they really are. Creativity isn't like going to a museum, you see a painting that's finished, and it's very hard to understand what goes into. People think, oh, he's lucky, he's got, a gift from God. Maybe he had a gift from God, but you have to work that gift. It doesn't just, pop into your head. And it's not just about when you're in the studio creating, it's about every day, every waking hour of your life, you're observing people, you're getting to know people. That's where his creativity came from. It was from living his life and being aware of his surroundings. So now there's a very, in vogue, mindfulness, being mindful of of every moment of every day. He was that way. He was like an early version of mindfulness, because he'd say, let's go for a walk. We'd walk for 3 hours, and he'd pick things up off the beach. He'd bring them home, and then they could sit in the studio for months, and then he'd pick one up and start carving on it. And that would become one of his sculptures. I mean, there's a whole collection of these little miniature things that he carved on while he was on breaks, on the movie set. You could be on a movie set we're filming, and then they say, okay, cut, we've got to redo the scene for the next scene, and you're there for 2 hours waiting for them to redo. He didn't just sit around saying, God, why are they taking so long? He'd work, he'd create, and that was the way he stayed focused, or he drew, and that's why I have 1,700 sketches, which he called doodles. They weren't something that he said, I'm doing these to hang in a gallery to sell someday. He did them because they kept him focused. And so kids will often think, I'm not creative, I'm not an artist. Well, I say, well, do you sing? Do you take pictures? Do you doodle? Do you draw in your notebooks? Everybody does something, right? That's an expression of or it's an outlet, or it's some way that calms them down. Do you sing? Do you dance? And everybody does have something. And so it teaches them that creativity is not something that you're either born with or you're not. You nurture these little nuggets that you have and things that throughout your life, give you peace. what makes you happy? And it's hard for kids to stay in that place because people are always telling them, oh, don't do that, that's dumb. He was born 100 years ago. A lot of these kids don't know who he is. But when they win the scholarship and they look back at his life and they see parallels, because the creative process, as we were discussing earlier, doesn't change. 100 years, 1,000 years, you have to discover what it is in you that lights you up. And you have to, it's only you. Nobody can do that for you. Somebody can inspire you, somebody can guide you, somebody can encourage you, but it's really all about you, and it's your unique path. So there's no two people that are alike. It's like grains of sand. There's something uniquely you, and when you discover that, I think that's when somebody becomes a creative genius, is when you discover what's uniquely you, and to keep doing it. You never can know the outcome. Can I know for sure that I'm going to change somebody's life? No, but I believe wholly in that the arts do change lives, and if I and the group of people who support me, because I wouldn't be able to do it without being surrounded by a lot of dedicated people who get it, who believe in it. Then 1, 2 kids, 10 kids, you got to do it a little bit at a time, and it's like Tony did. He worked every day. I'm not going to expect big results. Yeah, you can expect, I'm going to give somebody $500 million that I don't have. Just a little bit sometimes can just be that key that turns somebody around, and hopefully I'll be able to give somebody that key through one of the kids who comes from the high school, through one of our scholarship winners. You never know. You never know. You can only be, I'm only passing on what I know from observing, and I'm only sharing my experience with other people. And if I touch a life, then I'm a happy person.